Raging Kucing here today talking with Jonathan Carroll, a prospective future Victoria City Councillor. Jonathan, tell me a little bit about the platform you're running here in Victoria.
Well, my biggest points are going to be sustainable development and bringing that into the city, kind of bolstering the economy and also moving us in a sustainable in every sense of the word, basically. So sustainable environmentally, of course, sustainable economy, and of course a sustainable social environment that helps support all the most vulnerable people of our community.
Okay. That's great. I mean, we hear a lot of the sustainability is a big buzz phrase.
Happy word this year.
That's right.
Sure.
I think for the last few years it's been going around.
For sure.
So, you know, and you'll probably get a chance to speak to a lot of those issues. But you know, the reason why I'm talking to you today is to bring forward animal issues that matter to a lot of people in the community.
Of course.
And I'm just wondering. I mean, I don't think any candidate that I've met has anything about animal issues on their platform. And I'm wondering what your position is in terms of some of these issues. I know you did get an email from me earlier, but let's say if we were going to address one right now, something like the horse-drawn carriages, which are probably one of the most significant ones here in Victoria, BC, to animal advocates.
No, for sure. Obviously, there's a long-standing culture of it in the city, but I don't really agree with it myself. Okay. I think having the horses in this kind of environment, in this kind of urban environment, especially as the city becomes more and more kind of modernized with you know, cars and everything everywhere, it can be a very stressful environment for the animals, and that can be quite problematic. I think maybe there is a place, maybe if you were to keep it refined to somewhere in the park, and maybe if there were some stricter guidelines caring for the actual safety and health of the animals, but overall, it's not really something I'm terribly fond of as an issue. Yeah.
Okay, so what you're saying is basically, you know, you probably don't support it in the downtown core.
Yes.
But you are still saying that you support it in perhaps in the parks or something like that.
There could be a space for it in the parks if it was done properly and properly regulated.
What does properly mean to you? Because I mean, this is where a lot of people kind of get wishy-washy in terms of, they say, well, if the SPCA thinks it's okay, then I'll go along with it. But of course, there's a lot of double standards sometimes.
I think you would need a really, really comprehensive ethical review. You'd have to put together a task force with experts from a lot of different fields, like bring together veterinarians, horse experts, and anybody who would have any kind of relevant knowledge, and bring them into that process to talk about it. And of course, animal rights activists as well, because they deserve to have a say in it. And I think you'd have to be very, very careful with the conditions that the horses are in, because you know they deserve to have quality living conditions just like anybody, right? It's a very difficult subject, and I myself am not educated enough to really say. I can say that.
Would you say that like any individual, right, whether they be a horse or a human or perhaps a dog or cat, right, are deserving of their rights to their own self-interest, being, you know, free from having to, you know, work
of course,
their whole lives out, and then perhaps, you know, just being gotten rid of once their usefulness is in?
Thing. Absolutely.
Right. So do you think there's a panel, or do you think there's veterinarians or organizations that can speak better to the interests of the horses than the horses themselves, in terms of their interest not to be used as work?
Like obviously not since the Roman Senate has a horse actually been actively involved in politics, but I think I think definitely that we need people to speak out on behalf of the animals, of course, because it's very difficult for them to advocate their own rights, as it were. And of course, they have the right to respectable working conditions, as you would expect of any person, I would say.
Okay. And
living conditions, of course.
Okay. So I guess another big issue that comes up a lot in Victoria's more surrounding areas, Oak Bay being a big one, of course, and although it's not as big of an issue for Victoria City residents themselves, although many of them are certainly upset about what's going on or proposed for Oak Bay in January with the proposed deer call. Where do you stand on that?
I don't support a deer call.
Okay.
I don't. I lived for about 4 years up in the Comox Valley, and there's obviously deer everywhere up in this area, and honestly, I'm never for killing anything. I don't like it. And I think it would just be kind of a needless exercise of violence. I think if there are issues with the deer, they can be dealt with in much better ways than killing the deer, like fences and a kind of non-invasive procedures for that, for sure.
Right.
And no, I absolutely don't support a deer cult.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your time. It's really great to talk to a politician about some issues that we don't often hear a lot about, and I look forward to seeing how you do in the election coming up. So,
all right.
Thanks again.
Very much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.